All right, welcome to Dave Dev. And today we have a special guest, Jorge, here, who will be walking us through this little project that he's working on. Jorge here is a teacher at the local high school, and he's been facing a problem as a teacher, and he's going through the process of learning coding, and he wanted to get my help on something that he's working on. So we're gonna do like a little series here and see how it goes of me trying to help him, sort of a noob on the subject, I guess you could say, and how he thinks. And so maybe you can relate to him if you're learning this stuff yourself, and then I can, you can see how we walk through solving the problems that he's having. So if you haven't seen my other series on like getting started with this stuff, I mean, he went through my other video series on getting started with MeanStack, and that's how he kind of got into building his own MeanStack project. So if you haven't seen that yet, check out my YouTube channel and get on top of that. So let's dive in. Do you want to give a quick explanation about what you're working on, what you're trying to build?
Sure. But yeah, first I want to say thank you, Dave, for taking the time to go through this.
Of course, of
I
course.
did go through I did go through your Mittens video, which was really helpful, and the other one also the JavaScript playlist that you had, which was really helpful, and it kind of inspired me to work on this stuff myself. So yeah, this is like my second project that I'm working on, something that I think could help me run my classroom a little bit more efficiently, a little bit better. Because right now, as students come into the classroom, we have three logs at the front, and they're paper logs, so they fall off the table, they get mixed up with other things. Kids have problems writing stuff down, and so I decided like it would be cool to have like an iPad or a computer at the front of the room when they walk in, if they're late or if they're out of uniform or if they want to go to the bathroom, where I can like have them easily like touch their names, maybe put a little pin or hit what they're going to do and record that and have the computer do it automatically so
So
that it'll.
essentially, it's basically you have a list of buttons with each student name, and then you click on a button, and it asks if they're late, if they're out of uniform, or if they've gone to the bathroom. So essentially, at your school, what you have to do is every time a student does something out of the norm, you have to record it, right? The time,
Yeah,
like a timestamp.
yeah.
So this is
Right now,
essentially something you. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
yeah, like right now they do it manually. They have to look at the clock. They have to get a pencil. They have to write their name. They have to do all this stuff that takes time away, and they're already late, or they already have to do something that it just takes away from class time, and it's a little distracting also. So I decided it might be more efficient to use technology for it, using like the mean stack to pull this off.
And this is a web app that you want to have on an iPad at the front of the classroom, right? Then the
Yeah,
student, if they're late, they come in, they press the button with their name on it, they tap late, and it adds what looks like a timestamp for that person on a late array of some sort. So that's
yeah.
essentially what
You
you're.
want to pull it off? You want to pull it up? Do you have it in front of you or no?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I just clicked on Bob, and then I clicked late, and then yeah, that did it. So
Yeah, so the idea was that I would first get this working in my classroom, and maybe if it works in one classroom, it could work in multiple classrooms, and I can see if a student's like going out to the bathroom every single class, or if they're spending like 2 hours in the bathroom, we could get the data on it and like find some problems. Whereas right now, every teacher has their own sheets, and it's like it's never like put together or like put into like a database or some spreadsheet. Um,
okay. So from a technical perspective, you just need a single page web app with a list of names. You click a button and then you mark if they're late or not.
yeah, and
Um,
timestamp when
yeah.
that event was made, I guess.
Okay. So I just downloaded your code, and you have this CTA logs thing that I just got from GitHub that you put up.
Hmm.
And now if I take a look at this here, you've got public, you got node modules, so that's good. Um, your server package JSON. Okay, so you basically started a project. You made a server.js to serve up the files, and you made a public static folder like I did in my other videos.
Hmm.
And in that public folder, you have index.html, app.js. Um, okay, I see you have Angular and Bootstrap here. Is this something you moved? Because I remember you said that you were serving Angular and Bootstrap from node modules folder.
Yeah,
You
actually, if
moved
you
it.
look in the server.js file, I was originally serving it from the node modules, but I was like hiding it from the front end using putting it on the server basically. But
Hmm.
I think you said it wasn't a good idea to do that, that I should just bring in the actual Bootstrap or Angular files into the CSS or JS folders in public.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
should I share my screen with you?
yeah, could you share your screen so I can see what you're looking
Let
at?
me see. Share screen. I'm gonna do full screen too. Okay. Hopefully that's not too much inception.
No, it's
And
good.
now, so I'm looking at the code here. Here's the website that you've got going. So originally when you came to me, you're doing some stuff here. Like really all you need on the server.js is the public folder here
Hmm.
and then like app.listen. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, you get Express, you form app from Express, you do the public folder, and then you listen. This stuff you don't need to do on the server.
yeah. I think you can get rid of that, and it'll work fine because I moved the
Okay.
files over before I pushed it to GitHub.
So just for everyone watching, I'm going to delete this. Um, and now in index, you moved it to index.html, right? So you're getting .css.
The reason
So,
that happened, Dave, is because I was downloading my Angular and my Bootstrap using npm, and then when I did that, I was like, well, how do I access that stuff? How
yeah.
do I access those folders when in my index.html? And I looked through Stack Overflow, and a lot of people were saying that you shouldn't expose the node modules to the public.
Yep.
No one should know the structure of your
Yeah,
website.
that's true. The node modules folder should be outside of the public folder, but
Hmm.
at the same time, you don't need to use all outside libraries through npm. You could
Yeah,
use an outside library like Angular. You could either download the code like you did here and put it in your public folder, or you can use Bower for managing your front end dependencies. Because Bower lets you do the same thing as npm, except you can choose a target folder of the public folder. You might
yeah.
be
I'm
able to
not,
do this with npm too. It's a pretty advanced tool, but people tend to use Bower for this
yeah, I'm not
kind
really
of thing.
I'm not like comfortable, or like I don't know much about, like I haven't really used
Yeah,
Bower,
yeah. Just keep it
Runs, or
simple.
Gulp, or all these things. So it's like it's not something I'm very familiar with, but npm I am pretty comfortable with.
Okay,
So
and then you're using the native Bootstrap stuff. So you downloaded Bootstrap, you included it in your project, and then
mhm.
you used a couple different things from Bootstrap. You included the nav bar, you include the button CSS that comes with it, and the form CSS. And then when you click the button, it opens a Bootstrap modal. And let's see
Actually,
how you did that.
I'm not using Bootstrap's native glyph icons. I'm using the FontAwesome. So if you look at the
Oh,
CSS,
okay, so let's
those are
take a
from
look.
FontAwesome.
So where'd you include that here at the?
Right there,
Okay, I
line
see it.
11.
Font
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so all you do is include that file, and then you're easily able to. Where's the modal? Is it in index.html? Okay, should. Oh, it's right here. FA shower. So that's like the font awesome stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's your server. Server is super simple for now because we're not going to save. We're not going to have an API. The server gets complicated once you start to introduce an API, which you'll do when you want to start to save some of this data on the server. But
Mhm.
for now, we're going to stick to saving it in an array in the controller just to keep it simple. All your business logic is in one file essentially. And so what happens when you click the button here to open the student? Um, so add student. Where's the name of the student? Okay, so here's the ng repeat, student and students. So you have an array of students. Where is
Mhm.
that array? You start out with one in the
I just have
controller.
one in there right now. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
and then you have data toggle modal. That's Bootstrap. Ng repeat students order by first name. That's fine. When you click on it, you do set student. Okay, so here's where
yeah.
you're doing Angular stuff. So when you click set student, boom, you set the active student. Um, so that's just an Angular variable, and then I guess you open up the modal because let's see here, role equals button. So what does Bootstrap tell you to do? They tell you to do href and then the ID and then like a data toggle modal, and
Yeah,
that'll automatically make
I
the
originally
button
had
work.
it. I originally had it as a button, but then I found there was another one that had it as a link, an href link.
Hmm.
And I think when I switched to double modal, which if you look at it, right now there's two modals on the bathroom. So if someone clicks that they're going to go to the bathroom, I was thinking maybe like a pin should come up so that
Hmm.
right there you can see it should be like an ID check. And when I did that, when I looked at their code, they were using a link, an
Hmm.
href instead of the button. I don't think it would make a difference really,
Yeah,
but
it doesn't matter. The one thing I was telling you earlier also in regards to this was that you shouldn't have a modal on top of a modal. This is a tricky one too. This is like I've gotten this from experience. in that people tend to overuse what modals can be used for. Like there's a lot of stuff on this modal already. It's already quite complicated. Like usually modals are like have like one or two buttons max, and it's a very simple UI, but you're adding a lot of functionality here. So this might be something we rethink down the line to
Hmm.
make it less intense. Um, but yeah, that's just an introduction to this project. I just wanted to do a quick video on that. Um, what's your next goal with this project? I'm guessing it would be to clean it up to some sort. What would be the next functionality you'd want to get working here? What do you want to achieve next? Do you think that we could work on together?
I think the next thing would be instead of having, or I mean, maybe adding like some kind of way to check the student's pin, so that like if you click on the student Bob, click on Bob for a second.
Yep.
So I think the next thing I would want to get working is when we click late or out of uniform or bathroom. I actually have to talk about bathroom because I think I want to be able to detect when they leave the room and when they come back in also.
Okay.
But for late and out of uniform, they just tap those and then type in a pin and it just marks that time and tracks it. It saves it in the database.
Yep.
Whereas for bathroom, I have to get like exit and entry
Yep.
times. But I think the next thing I would want to do is add a pin so that like when they click late, like a student can't just come into the classroom and click any student's name and hit late. So that it kind of does like a little, almost like a little security check, even though it's really simple. Maybe like a 4-digit security check, ID, like or whatever would be good for the next step, and maybe not having it as a double modal. Like when if they click late right here, maybe the window opens up a little bit, like it almost like expands a little bit, or
Okay.
collapses. You know, like the collapse things.
So the
Um,
next step would be to get the pin of the student. So the
get the pin
students
of
would
the
have to
student.
type in a pin every time,
Yeah. So that if
essentially.
it, like right now, if you hit late, it automatically gets added to the late array.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it never checks to make sure that that's a student that should be that should be.
Because this is on an iPad in the front of the room, so anyone could press any button, and it's not a lot of security. So you
Yeah.
just want to make it more secure. So that'll be the next step that we work on in the next video.